Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Talking Horses, presented by our good friends at Saratoga Water. Maggie Wolfendale and Andy Serling joining you on a day that's a lot nicer than they predicted it to be. But
the sun's trying to come out a bit.
I mean, considering we expected to be sitting in rain all day long, and it did rain overnight. We lost 2 turf races. Quick call still on, and hopefully keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, with no more rain, it gives the opportunity and for that water to evaporate a little bit, not as if it's going to be firm out there for the quick call, but at least it's not going to be a bog.
No, and it's a great race, too.
It really is a fun race.
Yeah, I hate it especially. There's nothing, we hate going off the turf in general, but it happens. But sometimes you get a really good race, and you feel like, oh, it's so depressing. Right,
Exactly.
and it's quick call, too, and we love quick call.
Love quick
He's such a great story. And you used to, quick call people don't know, a very famous Saratoga horse, blah, blah, blah. But also, he was a big part of the Walk Hill program for TRF, and you went there quite a bit and saw him, right?
Yeah, exactly. He was such a cool old dude and lived out the entirety of his retirement at Walk Hill and was such an instrumental figure in helping those incarcerated individuals kind of find their way and learn new trades. And so he's sorely missed, but he is buried out at Clare Court.
Yeah, we were there at the ceremony for him last year. I saw him race quite a bit here. He's an amazing racehorse. And if you made the bet of which one of us spent time in a prison, and you took Maggie somehow, you won, actually. And she was
For people who really know me, wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, you make a great point.
Yeah.
Anyhow, let's head over to NYRA Bets before we get into today's 10-race card. If you're not a member of NYRA Bets, no better time than the present. Use the promo code SPA200, and we will match for $200 of your initial deposit. We have, as we've had the third of 4 days, the early bird special. Opt in for this. I've done it. You need to do it. You had a $10 bonus. You bet $100 more in races 1 through 5. It was great for me on Friday when I won money, and it helped a little bit when I lost yesterday, and that's sort of the ebbs and flows of the game. We have the cross-country Big Five, and we gave you a preview of this for a few seconds yesterday. Monmouth, Saratoga, Woodbine, Saratoga, and Woodbine as well, including the My Frenchman, which I believe is a turf sprint, as is the Quick Call down at Monmouth Park. We also have the middle pick 4. That'll be in race number 4, 2, 4, and 7 of our 10-race card. Before getting the show, and we'll discuss the show, just leave it up. I do want to let people know the low rollers, and we need to get a slate over in the truck, so if you guys could help us out, and please do that. But let you know the low rollers will debut. I think it's every Thursday and Sunday, I want to say. You go see Ray and Jay. Ray's nice. Jay, not so nice. They're over there by the 4-star Dave.
Does he approve of that message?
Jay, if you know him, right? He's kind of like, he's the guy who looks like Silent Bob. So he's a very close friend of mine and a wonderful human being, actually. That's why I make fun of him. But anyway, go over to the low rollers. A lot of fun. I think it's $30 to buy in, 30 or 40, and
I think so.
All but 10 is for the bankroll, and then live bankroll, and then the rest is for the prize pool. But head on over, see those guys. Those are a lot of fun Thursdays and Sundays. And finally, last but not least, FS2 1 to 3:30, FS1 3:30 to 6:30 as we close out week number 1, the one-day shortened week number 1 here. And we'll start out, and for those wondering, the racing office obviously well aware that there was rain forecast. They only scheduled 3 turf races, and so that makes things better. At least you know the race is going in.
Right.
Listen, it's a long meet, and hopefully it looks like the weather looks pretty good for next week, and we'll keep our fingers crossed. It's Saratoga, but hopefully it holds up. Speaking of the devil, off of this huge win 2-back last dirt race, I mean, if David makes a horse 3 to 5, then I'm pretty confident the horse will be odds on and close to 3 to 5. Did you think this horse was a 3 to 5 shot when you first looked at the race?
Yes.
You did? Okay.
I mean,
probably if he wins this race.
I know Ellis has been a little strange, and the other 2 horses that make sense in here are coming off of eased efforts at Ellis. And it feels like if you're not forward in those races, you're not doing any running. And not Grooven. Grooven was never involved. Fight Fiercely was, and then he just dropped back. And I didn't like that first off the claim for Joe Sharp necessarily. I felt Speaking of the Devil was the only consistent and trustworthy type. And you look back through his form, I remember when he first came off the bench at Oaklawn, I was there, and he ran into a pretty nice field with Federal Judge winning. And it took him a little while to get things going, and he finally broke through in that Indiana Grand race. But I just felt like he's the one who has speed in here, and he's the class of the field. Yeah,
I mean, I would imagine Santana will be somewhat aggressive with Gabe. We saw Jeff Hiles win a race here, by the way, the other day. I think his first Saratoga starter, and he won. It's kind of cool. I was on Friday. I think you had already. Yeah, he won the off-turf race. But I think he's a guy to keep an eye on, to be honest, and we'll talk about him a little later in the card. Okay, I have no argument with any of that. But I think what you have to talk about among the 2, the 3, and the 6 are the drop downs. Because they're 3 very different horses in that regard. Starting with Speak of the Devil, he ran for 100,000. I mean, there is 100% certainty he's claimed. The only way he doesn't change hands is if a claim is voided, right? I mean, they're lining up now.
Yeah.
And there could be a dozen claims for him.
Yeah.
Isn't that a little weird with that big fig that they're dropping him in for a quarter? Or are they just really looking back and saying he's not really an 86 buyer horse? He's probably at best a mid-70s, and maybe he's not worth more than a quarter?
I
Maybe.
hear you. I never know how to look into these drop downs at Saratoga because winning is so imperative here for these connections. And I get it.
But West Point, they're smart.
I know.
You know, and they're going to win races.
Yeah, it looks suspicious. He could run up the racetrack. Why did he go to the turf last time off the back
There's just some weird stuff about him.
But there were too many weird things for the other ones, too,
Well,
for me to feel
except
confident.
they're all different. And the other difference is, of course, that he's going to be a huge favorite. That's the other thing. And if you look at Fight Fiercely, is he really that bad a drop down? Jordan Wyckoff claimed this horse for $30,000 out of this race, where he finished second. So it's not as though he has, okay, he ran him for 75 last time out, but he paid 32 back. Now, you're absolutely right, and I picked this horse on top as the alternative. You have to be concerned about the last effort. To suggest it didn't happen is ludicrous. But at least in this horse's case, he's not really a negative drop down. Is that fair?
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I get it.
And I know it pained you to pick against the Joe Sharp horse. I know it did. I know it was painful.
It was.
You love Joe. It's
I
fine.
do love Joe.
Oh, I know.
I go way back with Joe Sharp to our Maryland days together. But
we don't need the details, but that's really enough. TMI already.
Joe's blushing now. So I just I didn't like how this horse stopped. I mean, he was involved. He was involved early. He just stopped.
You're not.
Head down.
You're not. And then there's Grooven. Claim for 75, now running for a quarter. I mean, off a similar type disaster. Now he's a big price, but I mean, I've got him third. But
in a way, if you're really suspicious of Speaking of the Devil, I'd rather put Gabe on top.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I know he won the
love
allowance
that
race at
Belterra form.
Belterra.
I've been to Belterra, okay? It was
Wow.
River Downs when I was there, but yeah.
I've never been
It's
to
right on the Ohio River.
I know, I've
It's
never been
right
to an
next
Ohio
to the
track.
Riverbend Music.
Have you been to Mountaineer?
I have not.
Got you there.
I have not. But I used to go, they used to run on Mondays and Tuesdays when I first went to Keeneland in the mid-'90s. So,
Okay.
back then, they ran 5 days at Keeneland, but New York still ran 6 days. And I couldn't even imagine now. And I just come from Gulfstream where they ran 6 days a week with 800 races a day. They ran the 15 straight days to close it out. I couldn't imagine being a track where you had 2 days off.
I know.
So I drove up down to Cincinnati and went to River Downs.
You're sick.
Ran those 7 and 7s with Beulah. You guys know about it. That was great.
I do.
It was great sitting there.
I remember those days.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, I thought I know. Look, he has the outlier race, right? Last time out at Belterra. Maybe we put a line through, and his dirt form outside of the 2 Tapeta efforts isn't that great. But like you said, maybe Jeff Hiles has come here with a purpose.
I think,
and I think he beat. I mean, beyond third in that race, you want no part of that field. But I don't think that Blue Northern or My Grass is Blue is that out of the realm with this field here. If you had those 2 horses in here either.
I mean, My Grass Blue did improve, I think, 17 buyer points for the victory the next time. And listen, Jeff Hiles won an off the turf 3-horse field, but I do think he's a sharp trainer and it's worth keeping an eye on. We'll see what happens in the first. But there is a heavy favorite, and that horse may well win. I'm not way against. I just didn't want to take a short price. Race number 2. Race number 2 is a little different. I'm not really sure why exactly I put him in this order. So let's start with Alice Cramden. Track is listed as good and harrowed now. We are yielding on the turf.
This is good news.
Alice Cramden and Jolly Miss Jill look like the speeds. Why don't we talk about the 2 of them together?
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with Jolly Miss Jill, but it is a good harrow track, so a completely different track than last time. And isn't it weird Lyndon would run this horse a mile after last time debacle?
I agree with you. But is she beating Alice Cramden to the lead with the blinkers on? Because last time she broke well and was up with the pack, and then as soon as the kickback and everything kind of started hitting her, she was out the back door.
Yeah.
But now they're putting blinkers on. There's only one way she's competitive here, and that is to be aggressive with Alice Crandom. I don't like her by any means, but that certainly
She's got to
doesn't
be in
make
front. She's got to be in
Miss
front,
Jill's
right?
job any easier.
If Alice Cramden wasn't in here, I would like her chances a great deal better.
Exactly.
The one thing I'll say, and I liked her last time, she did run like a horse, as you suggested, that had a problem with the racetrack.
Absolutely.
Because she just packed it
She's
in.
like,
And the fact that she's back for Linda, she's not a total dump job running for a quarter.
Right.
And the way Linda Rice horses are running, I don't think you could possibly ignore her. But the presence of Alice Cramden, I agree, makes it difficult for her. Now, we both have Yogi on top, and we'll take a look at Yogi's last race. I bet her last time, and I remember thinking, how did I lose to this horse? Well, this horse turns out to be pretty good.
Absolutely. Mersal has been in excellent form since coming to New York. And this here, Yogi, she won the battle against Chasing Daylight. She just lost the war to Mersal, who got just a more ideal kind of trip, you know, sitting behind the pace, able to run him down, and furthermore, she's in good form. So I'd rather take Yogi in here. She feels like a consistent type at this level. And two, she looks to pull that outside stalking trip, albeit we'll see how the track plays. We've seen inside good as it was kind of drying out
I want to talk about
over
that.
the other day, and now we've had more rain. So what do you think?
I don't know. You know, I don't know, and I want to talk to you about it because I do firmly believe there's an argument the rail was dead right in the rail on the opening day. Then, especially as the day went on, but maybe all day.
Once we got the rain, it felt like.
Well, yeah, I know I'm saying that on day two.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing about it is it feels like the rail got better as the day went on, but it also might be that more riders went to the rail as the day went on because I think riders rightly were sort of scared to go there.
Mm-hmm.
But then that horse ran second to randomize, and maybe riders said, hey, horses are running well on the rail, and it turned out you could argue that it was a pretty strong rail. And I think if you were in the midst of a rail bias, you would have said it was another big rail day.
Now, do you think that is when we've gotten the rain and it's drying out, as we're going to see today?
It could be some of that. It also could be that they thought the rail was bad the day, on opening day, and they just did something. No, that the track maintenance said we got to fix the rail a little bit. Now, I think if you look at the early race yesterday, you can make the argument the rail was good, but as the day went on, not as clear. But I thought that you have to, like I read the track trends, and I try to get them done every day. I argued and I said there's a good chance the rail was an advantage, but I think you have to keep it in mind and maybe watch going forward. Now we get the rain again. I don't know. But the track is drying the same way it did on Friday.
Right. I always feel like once you get the rain and the track starts to dry out, that's when you see the good rails.
Well, if you go back to Aqueduct, how many times at Aqueduct did we see the day after a heavy rain, the rail really strong, and then the next day the track was fine?
And I think it's because I don't know. I'm not a track maintenance person at all.
I'm not sure they know. It just happens sometimes.
It just happens. And I think it's because it almost gets more packed down with the rain going down and washing off on the inside. So therefore, it's a little bit firmer than out in the middle of the track. And that's why horses find it easier to run over.
Makes a lot of sense. It's interesting to see, you know, and I think there's a lot of things in racing where we all want to know why. But sometimes it just is, and you just have to say, this is something that happens. Yeah. I'm not sure knowing why necessarily helps me a little bit. So it is, I mean, it's good conversations. We both like them. I have Susie Saver, and you have her third. I have her second. I think Susie Saver is a very interesting sort of point of information, or a point in Saratoga. Because the jockey colony is so deep and so strong here, you are going to see races like this, even at lower levels, where you see a rider switch to Flavien Prat riding a horse like this.
Yeah.
And Flavien is riding sensationally up here, and as he always does. And I thought this was a big rider up. I'm not knocking anybody else, but this guy is really good, and she's run well enough that she could be close.
But she was no match for Yogi.
You have her third. Don't just get off your high horse there, Maggie.
Yeah, I know.
I don't love her. I just thought maybe she was a little interesting as the other
horse. You're talking about rider changes. Bravo Regina has a pretty positive late rider change to Ricardo Santana.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So,
okay. That I did not know.
Yeah.
So Santana,
and these connections, when they've all teamed up, they're been dangerous.
Well, that's a dangerous owners group over the years, so I agree. I have that horse in the mix as well. See what happens in race number 2. We are off the turf race number 3, and there isn't a lot to discuss. Sadly, Pharaoh's Heart was a vet scratch. People wondering why that horse is out. Vet scratch. Linny Kate, we're glad she stayed in. You can't blame her. She has some dirt form, but it's probably going to come down to Sunset Louise or Scratch Cat. And Sunset
I was kind of annoyed by some of the scratches in here. Weren't you like? I was like, why couldn't we try Pleasant Passage on the dirt?
I was surprised that Shug didn't leave her in.
But
and
whatever.
Shug leaves horses in an MT in those
Yeah.
races, so
So
I wonder
probably
if she
just
just
doesn't
can't stand up in it. I
react, yeah.
wonder if because he leaves horses in. He and Clement
Often.
are two guys that often leave their horses in. Sailby was a little surprising. I mean, she would have been the third choice. We'll take a look at Sunset Louise's last, and Sacred Wish unfortunately scratched the other day. I guess she's going to run the CCA Oaks, but she's in raging form.
Yeah, she really is, and she's one that certainly handles any kind of off track that you're going to deal with, and now her job just gets so much easier because Pharaoh's Heart's out, who looked like the only one who could contest the early lead with her, and I just think she's going to be awfully tough to run down. You've taken the horse that's likely
She's the only other horse going to take money.
Exactly. Scratch Cat. I know maybe she needed her last race, but she returned with the front wraps.
But he shipped her here. Phil Bauer shipped her here. Would he
But he
really
has
have
a
bothered
string here.
shipping her here if she just couldn't run anymore? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was my. The other thing is, as we show her race, a few races back when she was second, I think, at Churchill on September 24th. She finished third
Keeneland?
that day, actually,
Or
behind
Churchill?
63 Caliber. Tom Amos's horse, who's in on
Yeah.
Wednesday. I'm going to say that I had this order more when Pharaoh's Heart was in the race. Without Pharaoh's
I
Heart
feel
in the
you.
race, I don't
Exactly.
disagree with you.
Yeah.
Sunset Louis is a very likely winner.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? Phil Bauer had this great meet last year, and we had talked about it and saying, the problem it's like
feel bad for
it's
him.
like our
I
handle
really do.
numbers and our record handle last
Yeah.
year. The
Yeah.
problem is they're very hard to keep up. At some point,
Exactly.
you're not going to be able to keep them up. And Phil had this great meet, and there's always these expectations. And did you interview him, or I think Acacia did?
Oh yeah. Before.
And he said,
the Carnation Cup.
his expectations, two or three wins. Now, I get it. He's probably right to have those expectations because you have to go into Saratoga fully well. All of us do.
Yeah.
Fully aware that we're going to make fools of ourselves
Yeah.
in all likelihood up here at some point. Still, I respect the guy a lot. I'm
do
going
too.
to stay with this horse and give her one more chance, but there's no question that Sunset Louise is way the horse to beat.
Yeah.
Way the horse to beat.
Just such a tactical
Yep.
advantage.
Absolutely. And she may be the better horse, too. It's not clear that she's not the better horse, but Scratch Cat was good. She was running bigger figs.
She was. I
But
just don't trust her to
I will say
necessarily
one
jump
thing.
back.
A three-horse field mitigates a pace advantage a bit. Because
Oh,
the
yeah, 'cause
fields
they'll
are
all go.
always
It's a
bunched. They're not
jockey-
going to
it's a
be
jockey's
that,
race.
it's right. It's not going to be as severe.
Yeah.
Race number 4, I imagine Let Freedom Sing in race number 4 is going to be a heavy favorite. 9-5 morning line. Irad Ortiz coming off a big win. Both of us are going to try to beat her in here. We'll show her last race, or his last race, excuse me. I just feel like there's more interesting alternatives in this race.
I do too. Central Pride, who isn't going to play today, came back and win, but came back to
And 5
kinda
points worse,
regress a
7
little-
points worse.
Exactly. So while could be the speed in here, I mean that makes him dangerous, but
Isn't
he's
my
going to have
horse
to
the
deal with
speed?
Ensign Parker.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ensign Parker's quicker, and now down on the rail. I just, as you, thought there were more interesting options.
I also, in general, there are no rules you stick to steadfast, but the idea of taking horses, getting to the non-winners of 2 lifetime claiming, into non-winners of 3 lifetime, especially as the favorite, just feels like an unappetizing situation. And because of the presence of Irad, be favored.
No, I'm not going to. The numbers keep improving. There is.
Oh, I'm not gonna be
this
surprised the horse wins. I'm
keeps
not-
improving in a gradual, at this level type of sense. So yes, but there's more going on in here. As you took Ensign Parker, who looks like the clear-cut speed,
Last race.
and probably just beaten by a better horse last time in Bourbon's Hope.
I thought, and we'll take a look at his last race, I thought he ran a terrific race last
Mm-hmm.
time out, to be honest with you. I mean, Bourbon's Hope showed up.
Yeah.
He hadn't been showing up, but he
hadn't
showed up
been,
in
but
here.
There's some backlash with that.
And I thought he ran extremely well. You could also argue a little bit that maybe
He surprised me this day because I was against him.
I
I was like,
was
oh,
too.
he looks pretty cheap on paper, and he jumped up. So there's every reason to believe that Tally Lynch has him going the right way.
Well, David Aragona made an interesting point to me before that race because he liked him last time, and I said, seriously, he's a little on the cheap side. And he said, if you look at the horses he's running against down at Monmouth,
Yeah.
I'm not sure they're not easily competitive, not better than these horses.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
and that's the thing with some of the bottom levels, and this being a bottom level, the bottom levels can be zero to the price, the claiming price. It's not the same.
Yeah.
So I just thought the horse was in good form, like you said. You're going to try to wake up Norgay, huh?
I'm waking up Norgay with the turn back and distance here. You look back at the last time this horse went 6 furlongs, which was back in December of last year in a maiden special weight, granted for different connections, nearly won. My problem is he didn't. I don't like when horses start breaking bad, and he did it last time.
He's been in bad form.
I know. I agree.
Okay.
But I was just hoping that the turn back and distance with a couple horses that might want to go in here could make things.
You look up stats. You look up the turn back stats for the Notas. I should have sent this one in. I was a little lazy. I apologize.
The Notas.
I'm sorry, Oscar Barrera.
Barrera.
Oscar Barrera. Excuse
No,
me.
I did not
Apologize,
look up
Oscar. 5 for 62, 8% with a
Yikes.
$1 ROI. And to be fair,
I'm not proud of it,
we're rooting
but
for
I
you,
just-
Oscar. It's okay. It's just they haven't won a race since.
Yeah,
since
I know, since
Aqueduct. They had a tremendous Aqueduct.
Exactly.
But things have been quiet. Listen, I hope you're right. Good guy. Hope this horse runs well for him. I certainly gave a look, but I just couldn't take his recent form. Race number 5. We'll take a break after race number 5. For those of you wondering about Antonio of Venice, who would have been the favorite, I would assume, in here, he is entered on Thursday's card, so
Yeah.
he was going to come out.
He
But
was
the
my top
entry
pick,
makes in,
of
so.
course.
This race also, did you feel like it's possible that this race could be a little bit tougher, some of these first-time stars in here?
I mean, isn't it always? I just
Well, no,
thought
I
he-
just mean the one on Thursday, too, even looking at it. You haven't looked at Thursday.
yeah,
I'm shocked
no.
you haven't looked at Thursday yet. So you mean
Sorry.
you weren't up at 5:30 sending in the videos like I was this morning?
I
You were
was
up at 5:30.
4:30.
But I get a little credit. Yeah, I went to bed at like 1:30.
You have one job. I have a lot more.
Well, I'm not the one who had kids here, okay? I didn't tell you to have kids,
Oh
Maggie.
my
Wasn't my
God.
decision to tell you. They're wonderful children, and I'm sure that Tom will help bring them up very well. But I'm guessing you're doing most of the work.
In the morning, yeah. Well, okay. So, no, I have not looked at Thursday. Is it a tougher race?
It's a good card.
Is it?
I think
Okay,
Wednesday.
good.
I think Wednesday's a good card. I think Thursday's very good, actually. I
Excellent.
thought this has the potential. I thought there were some firsters near, and starting with the horse we have on top, Collected
Yeah.
Special, and I know Maggie looked at the exact same thing I looked at. So we'll all look at it. The sales workout from OBS. Maggie, you're a much more educated at this than I am, though I'd like to think I'm getting a little better. We seem to agree a lot. I like this work.
No, I did. Really wasn't asked too much. The only fear that I have is that he kind of struck me as one that might actually went longer, and because I looked at this workout first, and then I was like, does he want to go longer? Because he actually covers a lot of
gallop out, yeah.
ground, and he gallops out well.
He got stronger, I think.
But then looking at his pedigree, I was like, no, we're fine here. We're fine sprinting. But certainly a horse that covered the ground really well, which I like to see. And 2, I know he hasn't run that many first-time starting 2-year-olds here, but Jorge Delgado
Good numbers.
has really good
Good
numbers.
percentages, not great ROI, but here he's going to
He's
have a
gonna
bigger
be
price,
bigger
slightly
prices,
bigger price, you would think.
exactly.
Now, with the one coming out, we'll see how big a price he is.
Yeah.
Also, and listen, one doesn't equal the other because this horse is a half to 5 horses aren't very good, but the horse is a half to Lohengrin 2,
who's
who's
a good
very
sprinter.
fast horse
Yeah.
early. So thought it
The
was
other ones
interesting.
have been better on turf, weirdly, but yeah.
Yeah, that actually is good turf, the second dam,
Yeah.
and it was a synthetic work. So if this horse doesn't run well here and collects a city zip, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in a
Yeah,
turf
Collected
race
has the
going
best
forward.
numbers of his progeny in turf sprints.
Really?
Yeah.
So, Ice the Kicker, you have third and I have second, is a half
Yep.
to Unique Unions.
Unions,
A couple
yeah.
horses that weren't very good.
Salomini's
For those-
sold really well and have
Really well.
have been running okay. And 2, Mel had a first
Explain to people who
start.
Melanie Giddings is.
Melanie Giddings. Well, she was an assistant to Mark Cassie, Steve Asmussen, and for the past 6 years, she was an assistant to Jeremiah Englehart. But she is the person that the equine Maple Leaf Mel is named after. Mel's from Canada
gone out on her own.
originally, and she's gone out on her own in the last
So we
2
wish
months.
her good luck.
Very much so, and I think she does a great job. So
You know, I was talking about this with a friend of mine I was out with the other night, and we were talking about it, and obviously she agrees. And I love seeing women on the front line as trainers because this is an industry, as much as any industry, and many, that's dominated by women.
yes,
But
behind the scenes.
such a huge percentage are behind the scenes, and they're never going to get the credit. It's just like our TV truck. The people in the TV truck, I got annoyed at somebody for criticizing. Apparently your stuff wasn't going out on the simulcast feed yesterday, which you're probably aware of. it's not like the easiest thing. We're trying to. There's a lot of moving parts around here.
Yeah.
You're on every day. It's not
Yeah.
like we don't want you to be on here. And there are a lot of people working incredibly hard behind the scenes making it go, and a lot of women. And it's nice to see more women getting a chance, like Melanie and anybody. You know, obviously with Jenna winning the Belmont, but all that.
You know what's funny? When I first came to New York, and obviously things go in waves and stuff, but I was shocked at the lack of female exercise riders, for instance, that were in New York. And it seems like in the last 5 years, there's so many more women getting involved, being assistants as well, and then now taking the step to training, to riding races. So it's really good to see.
No, I think it's great. I really do, and it's so important.
Kudos to the women who have opened the door. I mean, you look at Linda Rice, who's been doing it forever, and you know, she shows it's possible, winning 4 consecutive NYRA meet titles, and already started off the Saratoga meet quite well.
There's nobody craftier than Linda.
Nobody.
She's extremely smart.
Yep.
You have the 2, who I have 4th as your second choice.
Well,
Midshipmans.
look,
We love midshipmans.
Love midshipmans. Kind of was hoping that it was still maybe a seal track, but that's fine. It's better for a lot of other horses that it's not a seal track anymore. The second generation's great. This dam didn't race, and she hasn't produced much. She's produced 1 winner. Actually, her brother, who was meant to run.
Who trained the second dam? Who trained the second dam? The late great Dominic Lucio.
Yeah, and
She's a good horse.
Mama Teresa has produced a lot of nice horses,
Yes.
and good 2-year-olds.
She was a good horse
like
herself.
Afroida Mama, who's a stakes winner at 2.
Yeah,
Rail doesn't do any favors, but these connections, a little bit of back pedigree.
They worried about it with Todd yesterday in the first. It didn't matter. You know, that horse got a 77 buyer.
Oh my gosh, that felt like it could be faster.
Yeah, I
guess
mean, I
the
know the
final
horse took
time
some early pressure. And I was, I mean, I feel, and listen, it's his first start, and they can go either way. It's, you know, just because they don't run a huge number. But, you know, that horse was very heavily touted. I imagine Todd's got some other good ones in the barn as well, quite a few. We'll take a break. Be back for the second half of the card after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
We are back. Maggie Wolfendale and Andy Serling going through the late pick 5, starting race 6. I'm going to tell you, this race was a bit of a headache on both surfaces. And
Really? I like this race.
no, I mean, tough handicapping.
Yeah.
I was going to take a shot with Lastly on the turf, first time out with some pedigree.
That's some serious pedigree.
I thought that was a little bit
but
interesting.
a 4-year-old first-time starter.
Maggie, you gave a 4th. Maggie's 4th choice is the 1, by the way, in case people were wondering.
I did
want to.
tell
We'll
them that.
show the video of your horse's last race ringside, and I'm going to let you talk about him. And I have quite a bit to say about him as well. What are we doing? What are you?
Probably trying to adjust my pick, and then
Yeah, but they'll
we go.
handle it. Our crack staff will be on it. Okay, talk about him.
Look, this isn't the greatest effort in the world, but he was beaten by Perform.
Pretty good
who
field.
Exactly. We'll see Prove Worthy a little later on in the card as well.
Rail horse in the 7th race, for those wondering.
Yep.
Perform won the
3/16
Federico Tessio out of this race.
Prove Worthy would come back and break his maiden, going a mile and a quarter. At Churchill, the 5th place winner would come back and win as well. And you know me, I love a new gelding angle. And furthermore, I just thought that obviously this is class relief, and I thought he could control here, Andy, especially with the scratch of Fast Post to Sky. I know Dream Within a Dream showed a bit of speed last time out waking up, but this guy looks to be on the Mary Chase.
Well, yeah,
leading the
it'll be
Mary
interesting to see how it plays out. He has the speed. There are intangibles about this horse that I hate.
The Todd Pletcher to Jack Sisterson angle?
No, he was sold at Keeneland in April of 2023,
For 100.
and I'm going to guess that he hadn't been gelded yet, and he sold for $100,000. The kind of money that people pay for 3-year-olds with pedigrees. And don't forget, I'm going to say that Perform might have probably already had won. I'm not sure, but he may have already won the Tessio, and he's shug. So they knew he was okay. That is a red flag to me. And then, of course, he's coming back now months later for 75. But more importantly, do you know what this horse sold for as a yearling? 1.3 million.
Oh, my gosh, that's
And
right.
that bothered me a little bit.
I hear you. And then the succession of turf work.
Yeah, it's just a lot about this horse. And
He could stay.
he's the horse to beat. I'm not an idiot. I get all that. But there are a lot of mega intangibles on this horse that really are red flags, right?
No, I hear you.
You know, that was my concern with this horse.
Yeah,
Not that his ability. Off his last race, he is a overwhelming favorite to win this race.
Yeah.
Based on his last race, he's supposed to win this race and pay about $5 maximum.
Yeah.
But I'm a little worried about some of those things, so I tried to beat him in here. Go ahead.
I like Dream Within a Dream, too. I at first I was like, ooh, definitely taking ringside. And then I kind of went back and went through this, and I was like, do I? As we just talked about. And I really considered putting Dream Within a Dream on top. But his last race, again, with these Jeff Hiles horses, is an outlier. But it was off of a layoff.
It was also his first time maiden claimer on the dirt, and he run against some pretty good horses in Florida.
Exactly. And Kings Barnes is in there.
Right.
And Javi rode him last time, is back aboard again, found that being aggressive with him works. He could be dangerous.
Yeah, that was my feeling. I'm looking for alternatives. I basically knew Happy Bob probably wouldn't run because he's re-entered on Wednesday, and that's why he's not running. I don't know the story with Gamekeeper. He may have been a vet scratch. He was rising, obviously, and it's not like Lucas comes out of these spots, so I imagine that there was a story of them being scratched.
I mean, Dr. Kringle makes a modicum of sense here.
Absolutely.
You have the Ellis races, again, dominated by a speed horse. His problem is his lack of speed, which gets him in trouble.
No speed.
I mean,
that
he's
worries
off
me.
the bridle, under a ride, 2 strides out of the gate.
That was what
Blinkers
worried
on
me.
could help him, but yes, that's the biggest drawback with him. But his race 2 back makes him a player.
I also feel like it's interesting, Linda re-entering Happy Bob in the other race.
He was entered for 20 back at Belmont.
Yeah,
but
didn't you get a feeling that she kind of entered him because she was afraid she would still be going for the trainer's title when she entered?
Because of the
and
last
she wanted to have a horse in. It was the last race.
Lines.
And don't forget that she was also, Jose was riding Ortiz, and Jose was trying to be his brother. So Jose goes in the last day with 4.
Absolutely.
And it's sort of like, well, I got the trainer's title wrapped up. You've got the rider's title wrapped up. And then Irad wins 3. And Jose's like, oops. As it turned out, Irad was last in the last race, so he held on to win. So I wonder if there was some behind-the-scenes stuff with that. But it's also worth noting. And also, maybe she looked and said, you know what, I want to try Rockstar Red in the dirt anyway, because she knew the weather was going to be, and he's a frosted, and maybe she's thinking, not like he's much on the turf.
First generation is all turf, but the second dam, she was a stakes winner going long on the dirt.
And it's Linda, so I got that horse in well, but we'll see what happens. But I think it is interesting what happens with ringside, because that morning line is based on turf.
He's a total wild card.
Yeah,
you know?
He's the horse to beat for certain based on his races, but maybe not based on some other things. Race number 7. I struggled to race number 7, and you ended up playing against my horse, and I feel as though I decided to go in an uber logical way here with Ouster. And distance, I think, is something we all have to take into account in this race. But I thought he ran well at 1 1/8. He handled moisture that day. We'll take a look at his race 2 back. He got wired by majority partner who ran like a stakes race performance in here, and he was way up against pace standpoint. Why are you so against him? And I'm not, you may be right, but why so against him?
He did absolutely
0 running last time. He was terrible last time.
Maybe that's a weird race. I don't know, but that bothered, and maybe he needs
bad.
Lasix. Maybe he needs Lasix, and he's back on it today.
Right.
I don't know. He's good, but
well, you throw his last race out, he's way the horse to beat. You can't just ignore his last race.
Right. His best races came at Aqueduct. Oh, will we see it here at Saratoga? I don't know.
I've always thought this was a good dirt horse.
No,
you know how I felt about this
horse. And I don't think he gets better with more distance. I really don't.
Thinking mile, even though he wanted 1 1/8, maybe a mile is better for him?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not.
And furthermore,
I'm not in love here, but believe me. I like this horse, but I'm not.
If we get some sort of deluge again, and it's a sloppy sealed racetrack, because I've always thought that he kind of likes that firm.
He was part of an entry that day.
Yeah.
That's the one they were betting. I'm still annoyed about it. So I was waiting and waiting and waiting to bet him on the dirt, and then there was an entry with a horse off a win.
Yeah.
And
God,
he
had
would have
some
been
rough
at least
trips when he was
$7 on his
out.
own or something.
Yeah.
So you have.
Get my man Phil Bauer.
Can we switch the videos and show the Saquil Prince's Spur video next. Is that possible? And you can talk about the Prince Spur. I'm just worried he's a bit of a hanger.
Okay.
That's my worry with him.
Sure, but I just think he was 2 back. He was beaten by horses that would come back and win. Obviously, Giant Game won the Cornhusker, 99 buyer.
Obviously. One of the 3 Giants Causeways that still,
Yeah,
from that crop.
I know.
And
Isn't
the one
that
who's being handled
amazing?
correctly.
Correct. Well, here we are. So, anyway, last time.
I'm not letting it go.
Last
And I'm not the only one.
last time, yeah, he was on the rail and he tipped out. But Taiwanaku and Sakil, they were 1-2 around the racetrack.
Yep.
That's how everything's playing out at Ellis, it seems. And third off of a layoff, I thought maybe this is where he steps up.
You're not getting an argument
the
from me.
distance isn't going to be a problem for him.
The other thing is he's not winning, but he's also not a short price in those races. He's not a huge price, but he's not a really short price. So is he really underachieving? And maybe he's just has been in tougher spots. I'm not going to argue with him in there. And I do prefer him over Sakil, obviously, who I have 4th, but can win. So Film Star, we'll show his last race. I don't know, Mag. This Belmont horse, the 3-year-old, really improved, 20 points in his fig. They bet him like they knew he would.
Yeah,
He's gotten
they
2
did.
big figs in a row, both of which I'm a little dubious of. But Time Form US is a little lower, but they're not that far off.
Okay. Pace,
Controlling
he's
speed.
got it.
Yeah.
Controlling speed in here.
Linda,
And last time he was just second best.
does he get better with distance?
That's the problem. I mean, he's a flatter out of a hard spun mare. I know flatter is a little bit more on the sprinter, miler type of side, but on the bottom with the hard spun. Look, I didn't know what to do with him, really, because I like him. When I see him in the paddock, I'm always like, oh, Film Star, I love it. But shouldn't he have got the job done?
I would have thought so. The only thing I will say about that race is they bet that Mott horse like they knew
No, I'm
that he was
talking
going to
2
run.
back.
Oh, 2 back?
Off the turf.
Yes, he
race.
should have beaten Constitutional Lawyer. I don't disagree.
Is he a bridesmaid type? I don't know. I mean, it's only 10 starts, 2 wins, 3 seconds. But
He's got a lot of good figs, but I keep being a little bit suspect, but I'm not going to be surprised when he wins.
I mean, how much stock did you put into the mile and 3/16 distance when it came to?
It's hard, Maggie. It's so hard because how much does it matter? The 6 is the main speed, so he's supposed to be controlling. Is that real? Doesn't that help his chances to get a longer distance?
Well, yeah.
And it's also such an unknown. And it's like,
I mean,
I don't know.
think
You
they're
have a
gonna
better
be-
idea probably than I do.
I don't think they're going to be lackluster or unaggressive with Sakil. Aren't they supposed to at least make Film Star work for it?
I would think Ouster could be more
And
forward
Ouster.
than him. We'll see how. But Louis is probably going to be aggressive. He's an aggressive rider.
Right.
So I would think he would try to put him. The pace projector has him farther back, but that doesn't mean. And keep in mind, it's an interesting thing. With the long run down the stretch, starting up on the 8th pole, the post positions are irrelevant.
Oh,
In a lot of
totally.
ways,
Yeah.
that actually helps Film Star because
yeah.
if he was coming right into the turn,
Yeah,
guys
a
could
mile and
keep
an
him
eighth, it
out
gets
there
a
little
bit dicey,
Right.
but mile and 3/16 not so much.
Get over. We'll see how it plays out. I thought this was a very confusing race. I ended up on the
It's very
favorite
confusing.
too, and I'm not. I'm not. I like Ouster. I think his best race is better than these, but I'm not overly confident. You have to be concerned about his last race.
Yeah.
Race number 8. Race number 8 is an interesting race, and this is the answer to the question. The first question I got on Twitter when we were starting Saratoga is Baby Yoda going to be racing up there? It was about as random gets. So
He loves Saratoga, Andy.
a year to the day, Mag. A year to the day.
A year of the day.
Here it is. You were waiting for it. We have it for you. I'm going to tell you something. I do not like this horse's last race, Maggie.
No,
I am
agree with
worried
you.
about his last race. I know that they're pretty good horses, and 3 Technique came back and won the Nehrude, and Zozo's a good horse. I just wonder if how confident you can be he can get back to this very best form.
He's such an enigma of a horse, isn't he? I mean, you look at his form and you can't say that, but then it's like.
I can't get
Remember
past
he
him
came
beating
from
Olympiad.
A maiden
Yeah, maiden 25, and then he beat Olympiad.
10 he
Olympiad
ran
ran a
for
107 buyer and finished second to him, and turned out to be one of the best horses in the country the next year. And I made my biggest bet of the meet. I'm at 7-1, but I'm not bitter about it at all.
Not at all.
I'm not at all. I don't. Did you pick him on top?
No. I went off the reservation here.
That's fine.
I put Mr. Phil on top. I'm trying to wake Rob Atras up.
Well, somebody better.
Yeah.
I think I picked a horse of his later next week.
I just want him to go for
He's got to go.
For a sprint race. There's not that much speed in here.
I don't disagree.
And if he can get out of the gate, I know last time he broke a bit slow, which I'm not thrilled about. But if Rob can find that gate speed that he put in him when he first got him off the claim, this is his race. If he can control here, I think he could be very tough.
I feel, though, when he ran faster figs, he had the benefit of racetracks very much in his favor.
Tilted to his favor.
And I don't love his recent form, but you're right. He's a better horse if he gets loose.
I mean, I think the class of the field is number 2 in here, Nakatomi, who you seem to be against.
Well, you got to be against somebody in this race, right? I mean, you have to be against somebody. And, yeah, I get it. But was that Commonwealth really a tough race? Did he really? I know.
No,
did Prevalence really run his race in the Maryland Sprint last time out?
Yeah.
And, yeah, he's so stake-faced, but his last couple races aren't great.
Compromised, I feel like.
He had a good setup in the Com Fool. Is one of the reasons he ran the big figure. Little Vic did all the running in that race. I'm not going to be shocked if he wins the race. No, honestly, Bourbon. I mean, even Bourbon Calling has those races. I don't have the last 2 times. And you know, I love Antonio Arriaga, and I respect you with Mr. Phil. I saw the same things you did. I just can't really trust him to beat these horses. But I thought this was a race that anybody could sort of win, and that's one of the reasons I didn't want Baby Yoda.
Talk about shoot or shoot.
Well, I think it's nice that I'm picking Joe Sharp, your buddy, but I'm taking his horses today.
It's okay. We'll still.
I thought this horse really improved last time out, and he's got a very. It's not like this horse doesn't have real legitimate form, and that was a mile race off a long layoff. Got involved in the pace. It fell apart late. Yeah, obviously, Kinetic Sky ran a much better race than he did. He ran the best race of anybody. But I thought for a first race off a layoff, that was a tremendous prep for him. You know,
yeah,
longer distance, involved in the tough pace, turns back a little bit, gets Luis Saez. So I thought he's going to be a big price in here. And his last race, I thought was a really strong effort and made him a player. So he's going to be a big price. It's like Sheriff Bianco. Sheriff Bianco, let's show the commentator. And he ran fine last time. He was just in over his head. But do you worry a little bit? Now, he had a perfect trip in here. I just think mile 16th was just too far for him.
It is.
And he still ran credibly.
Yeah.
I'm worrying a little bit, man. He has had a very arduous schedule,
That's
this horse.
Exactly
and I just wonder a little bit if it's going to take a toll.
He does not miss a dance, does he?
Yeah, and
I agree with you.
If also this is a horse that I think would have had a bigger edge if it had rained.
Sure.
Now, I think he could win here, but.
That's why I did handicap with it in mind that it was going to be a wet, washout, sloppy track type of day. And now I'm like, yeah.
I put this horse second. You know how I feel about this horse. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
But he's done well.
He is a respectable individual because he shows up.
Yep. Is 7, I'd love 6.5, 6. I don't like to cut it that fine, but he might be a little better, a little bit shorter even than that.
I don't think.
Probably doesn't matter. He's run well at a mile.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a really good race.
It is. It really
because
is.
even Bourbon Calling, I know he's been horrible in 2 straight races. They were stakes. He got very good at Aqueduct.
I know. But again, it goes back to what I said about when I picked a horse. He hasn't been breaking.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That is a problem. We'll see what happens in race number 8. Race number 9. I hope we have some time. This quick call is a really, really terrific race. We have plenty of time. So let's start the conversation with the William Walker and the first 3 finishers in here. I don't know about you, Mag. I thought the horse that ran the best race in here was 2 of a kind.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You look at None Hudson, and he gets his dream trip, kind of the inside out, rallies down the middle of the course, whereas 2 of a kind's doing all the dirty work, fends off all those 3 horses to his outside, and even kind of digs in more a bit as they go to the line. So he by far ran the best race.
That's why I took him. I'm not, and obviously you're not against him either. I don't know these horses to beat. I just thought his price might be a little better. I don't think there's any arguing that your horse, Eyewitness, is the horse to beat, and it's certainly not going to hurt the fact that we've gotten some rain because this last race was in a bog.
And I thought
Take a look at his last
race.
I thought he ran
well
huge
in the Paradise Creek. So we talked about this before, and David Aragona had said that you questioned the timing, and David thought it was legit.
He said it was. He said it all. They've looked at it and backs it up.
And he broke actually on top. He let those 3 horses go. He sat right behind him. He tipped 4 wide at the quarter pole right into the teeth of that pace and still was able to hold off Inflation Nation, who got a dream trip.
Yep. No. He was super. There's no argument about it. He was absolutely super. there's just nothing. There's no argument with it. I didn't pick him on top
yeah.
because I wanted to pick the 5. But I think I'd
you.
be an idiot to not say this horse is the horse to beat in here.
No, look, I'm scared of Two of a Kind because he ran well enough over a course with some give in it in the Palisades in his first try on the turf. So
why do you have Gaslight Dancer ahead of Two of a Kind?
I just have a thing for him.
Okay.
I don't, and I think he actually is a horse that is okay over a course with give.
Okay. No, that's fair. I'm not. This
Yeah.
is a very hard race. And I think we have to talk about new faces here. I mean, Phil Bauer and Kigali, can he improve? I'll tell you something about his last race. The Timeform US has that race a lot better than Beyer does, and I think that's important to note.
I've always, well, not always, he's only run on the turf twice, but when I saw him back at Churchill, he looks like a turf horse. He moves like a turf horse. This is the surface that he's going to get better on.
And then there's brighter days ahead to Maggie complete the trifecta of dumping on her buddy Joe Sharp today. I just want to be on record. I'm not the only one. Apparently, I'm a bad person if I pick against owners' horses. I found that out yesterday.
I hope he wins 3 today so he can pay for the boat tomorrow.
Otherwise, you're going for it, you think? I'll believe that when I see it.
Go halvesies.
And I also think this horse has to be considered, if it should rain, unfortunately, I think this horse has to be considered a major player on dirt as well. I think he's better on dirt.
I think he is better on dirt. I think he's beating mostly more like dirt horses in this effort here.
Yeah. But it was a decent enough effort that I don't want to completely dismiss him. What about Uncashed? We'll show him winning the prestigious Golden Circle. Was that a John Kimmel horse? Or was that Golden Bry?
I don't remember.
Before your time here.
Thank you.
Irad rides this horse. Horse is fast. This is a
fast.
weird horse shipping in, and it's not like there's a lot of turf pedigree.
And like, right. And I just watching the way this horse is built, he's really big, Andy. And those types, especially with a turf course that has given it, I think he's just going to get mired down. I don't trust it. There is turf pedigree if you go back a generation. The Dam Half to Lomaki, who was a grade 3 winner on the turf. Dr. Large won on the turf as well, a stakes winner. But
is that enough to really be excited about this horse on the turf? But he's fast, and I don't want to I don't want to ignore Larry Ravelli.
I know.
So
I mean, I have him on top if this race, if we get a deluge and it comes off.
I have it a little different.
Okay.
If it comes off, I have this horse, Joey Freshwater, on top. Even though he hasn't been as fast as some of these, he's faced better. We'll take a look at him winning the Bayshore just in case it comes off, and obviously we're hoping it doesn't. We're optimistic that it won't.
Yeah.
I just thought he's been in such good form. He's been facing so much better horses. And I wondered if this race comes off, there might be some sexier horses to bet on, but maybe he's just the hard trier and he'll end up paying $7 near or $8 because they'll go for the uncashed or at brighter days ahead, and maybe he's just the better horse. But maybe he's not.
I totally understand that. And two, if it comes off, he's kind of the more confirmed closer of these horses. Look, the other ones can rate behind uncashed, but I felt like he was the one that could capitalize on them making those preemptive moves.
Did you think if this race came off that Brian Lynch might take a shot with Two of a Kind because he had been good as a 2-year-old and then maybe Florida, maybe not, take a chance he just didn't like Gulfstream or something?
Sure.
I wondered if he might stay and he might be able to stay off.
He has a very New York pedigree for being a Kentucky bred.
They're stealing from us. We haven't even discussed the news. Funny Side passed away.
Yeah, 24.
Did you see it? Well, you must have seen him win the Preakness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was here. They brought him to Saratoga one of the days.
Yeah.
And Robin Smullen, Barkley's longtime assistant and partner, was leading him around, and he was still a bull. I mean, he was dragging her around the paddock here.
He was a really good horse.
He was
a really good. His Preakness was probably the best race he ever ran.
Yep.
But he ran some very big races. He was a really good horse. Race number 10. I have a disagreement with David. I'm curious if David's line in this race. I think that Marley's Ghost is kind of the horse to beat in here. I don't think there's any chance that horse will be 8-1.
I am not envious of David for
No, I'm not. I'm not. Listen, it's easy to cherry pick his lines, and he's usually right when I disagree. I don't believe that my pick is going to be 5-1 in here. She's been awful, but my feeling with her is obviously a class drop. I think the rail was dead on May 21st. I think this horse was down in a dead rail, and I think that is part of the reason that she completely stopped. She went a fast pace. The winner was just sort of sitting on top of her, and I wonder if the rail just blew her away. But she's also supposed to be loose here. I mean, Kendrick is just supposed to go. Just go, get clear, and hope for the best.
My slight problem with her.
6.5?
was that Dancer Joro and Miss Stones have come back to do nothing. I know this is a major
By the
class
way,
drop line,
my
okay.
slight problems, I got plenty of problems with her. She got beaten 100 lengths. I'm just hoping the rail took a toll on her and she can get loose here, but I'm not.
Hey, I mean, take an edge in this race.
Yeah.
Be creative because there's not much going on. And if you can find little things like that to make a case for one.
Right. I mean, I see what you do. Obviously, we saw this race very similar, just in different orders. We will show, and this is really not because Maggie's on the show, because when I deliriously sent these in the middle of the night on Thursday, I wasn't. And I know, Maggie, I just went, no, I'm not thinking of you in the middle of the night, number one. But number two, it didn't occur to me that you were doing the show when I sent it in because I was sending Maggie in. Frankly, it's the only video I could find to show for this race. Let's take a look at Maggie.
Getting beaten by Maggie T.
Maggie crushed
And
this exacta.
This idiot didn't have $2 on the exacta.
This idiot didn't like either one of them. So.
Well, I was being logical, not romanced by having 2 horses with my name in the race.
She's perfectly logical off this race. She's not a turf horse. They try that. Well, actually, I made a big bet at her last time. I thought she actually had an interesting race. It turned out she's not a turf horse.
No, but
She's the horse to beat, I guess.
she is the horse to beat. You go back to her dirt sprints, and I know, look, one was over a sloppy racetrack, but that was against open maidens at Parks. And then the September race going the 6 on the dirt, I know she was beaten by a 14-1 first-time starter, but she was ding-donging on the front end, involved in a bit of a pace. And they protected her last time. It felt like a right kind of prep, and now she's back in with her friends.
Yeah, no, I got no problem with it. With her, I think she definitely is a player in this race. It's,
Marley's Ghost is interesting, right?
yeah, no, I think she's super interesting. I almost picked her on top. I was between the 5 and 8. Honestly, if I thought the 5 would be 8-1 and the 8 would be 5-1, I would probably take the 5 over the 8. I thought the 5 might take more money simply on the drop down, though she's got terrible form like my horse does too. So probably it's true. She probably will be a big
I couldn't resist Northway, though, getting back to the dirt for right handle. All my notes say, why turf, not turf? And now they finally drop her, and this is where she belongs.
I agree.
Yeah.
I would like to have all of these sources if I'm live in any multi-race bets, but the quick call is going to be a fun one. Maggie, thanks so much. Maggie will be on Sundays throughout the meet. Greg Wolf will be here on Wednesday. It's Greg on Wednesday, Acacia on Thursdays, Sarah on Fridays and Saturdays, and Maggie on Sundays.
Sarah's got the heavy loads.
She does. She does.
She can handle it.
You actually have, in a lot of ways, one of the least, because we draw on Thursday. At least for Greg and Acacia, they have the 2 days, the dark days, to get it done. I, on the other hand, am almost done with Thursday already, but I have issues. I'll go over the picks over the next few days, but got to get them done, Mag. You got to come to work. I have to come to work on Wednesday with all the 3 cards done.
Good for you.
Now, we'll discuss movies next week. We're going to discuss whether you're going to see
Barbie?
next week. I'm going to go see Oppenheimer first. My mom and I are going to go see Oppenheimer, but then Barbie. Well, Zoe Cadman and I already have a date for Barbie. You can come. You're invited.
My girls are begging me to take them to Barbie. I'm like,
might be a little more adult for them.
An adult movie.
Yeah.
No, Mommy, we want to see Barbie. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
I'll go. If you want, I'll go. And I'm
though.
always a good judge for children, what is appropriate and not appropriate for them, as you can imagine. Because if you really want to trust me, but I'm guessing you're right on that one. Anyway, head over to NYRA Bets. If you're not a member of NYRA Bets, go to NYRABets.com.
Oh, but Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer. Oh.
Oppenheimer looks great, right?
Oh, I can't. No, I really want to see that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
I'm a big Cillian Murphy.
We'll discuss it.
You're taking Lucy?
Lucy and I will be going. Yes.
Excellent.
Head over to NYRA Bets. You're not a member of NYRA Bets, use the promo code SPA200. We will match the $200 of your initial deposit. Head on over. Early bird special. I have already opted in for this. $10 bonus. Bet 100 or more on the first 5 races. Win, lose, or draw. Give you $10 back. Opt in at NYRA Bets. We have Cross Country Big 5. There it is. Monmouth, Saratoga, Woodbine, Saratoga. They're off the turf at Woodbine. I have no idea if either of those races were scheduled for turf, but I saw my friend Jeff Bratt tweeting that this morning.
We're on the turf, though, at Monmouth, right?
I have no idea.
I
have no friends there now that Frank is gone.
Oh, they might be
Chris
off.
is there.
They might be off.
Chris is our buddy Chris Griffin.
That.
We also have middle pick 4. Races 2, 4, and 7 for the pick 4s today. And we also have the Saratoga. We're on 1 to 6:30. First 2.5 hours on FS2, last 3 on FS1, and the low rollers. In the go to the 4-star Dave,
Monmouth
see Ray and Jay.
is off the
turf.
Yeah.
All right, we got one on though. The one that counts. The quick call. Go see Ray or Jay for the low rollers kicking off today. Thursdays and Sundays, a lot of fun. $30 I think is the buy-in. But go over and see the guys. Pay them a little sympathy for Ray for working with Jay and Jay for being Jay. We're done. Thanks again, Maggie.
Thank you.
Frank Miramati, he's getting started to close out the week with a reprise, the scratches and changes.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.